In this video, I'll show you some of the tools that I use on almost a daily basis for the stuff that I work on. I mainly work on, in the summer, boats, outboard motors, lawnmowers, and some ATVs, and in the winter, snowmobiles. So this isn't just like I use a socket set or I use wrenches or whatever. These are kind of the tools that are specific to small engine stuff. This is stuff that I've kind of gathered over the last 10-15 years that I've been working on small engine stuff. I originally started working on drag racing cars, just quarter mile street cars, but I've kind of transitioned to small engine stuff now. So I'll show you some of the tools that I use. I'll kind of start with some of the basics here. Here's some of the screwdrivers that I use. Basically, obviously screwdrivers, you use them for a lot of things, but these ones in particular, the long and skinny flathead screwdrivers. These are really good for getting down in, for taking carb boots off, adjusting carburetors, especially on like snowmobiles, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, where you have to get down in there and the carburetor is behind a bunch of stuff. You can get down in there and adjust the idle or the mixture or whatever. I've used this one a lot. It's actually a snap-on. I borrowed this from my dad like 15 years ago, and I've been using it ever since. So I might have to give it back to him one of these days. But I use this one a lot. These two a lot. Another screwdriver that I use is also a flathead. I don't know if you can see it. I'll get it up closer. But I ground this down on this part of it right here. And so what I use this for is inside carburetors to unscrew the jets. This is typically the right size. I don't know how wide that is. Maybe less than 1/4 of an inch probably. But I use this to get jets out. It works great. This is my small engine jet screwdriver. I use this a lot. It's a spring-loaded punch, and so I'll show it to you. You like that, and it basically, when you press down on it, it spring loads and it slams into the whatever you're doing for drilling holes, and then also again for carburetor stuff. What I like to use this for is if you have the pivot pin on the float of your carburetor. If that's stuck in there, instead of like tapping on it or whatever, you can basically get this on the edge of that pivot pin in the carburetor and just go like that, and it'll pop that out. It works great. That way you're not busting your carburetor. You might not have thought about it, but bags. I use these bags all the time. They're the nice heavy-duty quart freezer bags, and so for parts basically. So when you take something apart, instead of putting it on your magnetic tray or wherever you want to put it, put them in these bags. Everything stays together. Easy to find if you need to stop working or work the next day or whatever it is. And it's nice to have your own stash out in the garage. That way you're not borrowing the wife's and she's mad at you. So back to carburetors. This is kind of embarrassing, but since it's just you and me, I'll show you. This is my drawer that I use for anything carburetor related, large engines or small engines. And so basically what it is an accumulation of like gaskets and O-rings and carb kits that I've used some of the stuff over the years. There's a diaphragm, oh, that's junk I guess, but diaphragm for an accelerator pump, bushings, gaskets, bearings, any of the stuff that's going to be like a gasket or an O-ring, I basically just jam in this drawer. There's for Holly, and yeah, see there's bowl gaskets, and yeah. So basically anything carburetor related. You never know when you're going to need an O-ring. So there's a bunch of different size O-rings. Here's an O-ring set. Yeah, springs, throttle return springs. So anything carburetor related. I really need to get this cleaned out, but it's been forever. I just throw stuff in here. You just never know when you're going to need a gasket or an O-ring. Okay, these two things kind of go together. I've had this thing for years, but basically what it is is just like a cheat sheet for all your different thread sizes, English to metric conversions. I think there's tap and drill sizes on here, maybe not, but I use this a lot. Yeah, tap and drill sizes. So you use your reference for drilling and tapping, what size hole you need to drill. Yeah, there's like different formulas and stuff on there. So if you're doing any drilling and tapping, that's really nice. This box, this is entirely quarter 20 nuts and bolts. And so that it's in itself really isn't that special, but a couple of things in here that are nice to have: wing nuts and a 1/4-inch drill. And so when you're working on something and you need to screw it together, or you need to re-drill it out, or whatever it is, you have your drill bit. And then if it's going to be something that you're going to take apart in a few minutes, or you just need it hand tight, or whatever it is, wing nuts. These are so great, and people forget about them all the time. So quarter 20 stuff itself isn't that great, but having wing nuts and a 1/4-inch drill bit right in there with it is next level. So you got, your nylock nuts, stainless stuff, all different size lengths of bolts, washers, long ones, short ones, skinny ones, tall ones. This is just a handheld inflator. Again, nothing too special, but you keep this in your truck or whatever. It's really nice to just throw a little bit of air if you go out to the lawnmower and lawnmower tires down, or if you're out buying something, bring it with you. If you're buying a new mower or buying a project, it's nice to have this because it's just super simple. Throw battery in there. It works great. This one's Ryobi. I just have Ryobi stuff. I know there's an intense battle about what tool brand is better, but a million years ago, my parents bought me a cordless Ryobi set when I was like 14 or 15 or something like that, and I've just accumulated ever since because I had the batteries, and that's what I have, and it works. So these small little 1-gallon gas cans are nice, specifically this style that has just a button. So you take that off, and for filling small gas tanks, it's super nice because you can just put in a little shot of it without having to overflow and get gas everywhere. Depending on what type of work you do or the stuff that you're into, it's always nice to have a couple of spare motors laying around. And so I'm on Craigslist and Marketplace a lot, and so I picked these up as spares. I think I paid, this is an old air compressor off of a semi or something like that, and so I got those two together. They were strapped together on a board with a belt on them. I bought that for $100. It's a Honda clone. It's like the same thing as a Predator. And then this one I got at a garage sale. It's got a water pump on it. It works great. It's a gas-powered water pump. There's nothing wrong with it. But I got that for $50. It's a 3.5 horse Briggs. And so these two, I don't have any plans for them, but for the price, if you need a spare motor for a project or who knows what, it's always nice to, if you see cheap ones, pick them up. They're nice to have. This one is more outboard or boat specific. What this is concrete etch, some type of acid, and it basically, what it does is this does wonders on hard water stains on lower units. Even the thick stuff, like the really thick, nasty stuff on lower units, you mix this with some hot water. Either, I don't dip the lower unit in there, but run it on with a brush, let it sit, scrub it, just repeat, and it just melts it away. It just melts that stuff away. Makes motors look like new. It's pretty nasty on your hands, so you got to wear gloves. You can feel your skin melting when you use it without gloves. So, but yeah, you can get this anywhere. Concrete etch. This little tub of grease. This is another thing I use a lot, and not necessarily the tub, but the combination of the tub and the brush. This is like a glue brush that I clipped the bristles off of, so it's a little bit shorter, it's a little stiffer. So you just, a lot of things that just need a tiny little bit of grease on, like a bushing or a shaft or a pin or something like that. Just dip it in there and wipe it on. Nice and easy. I use this all the time, even for, you know, stuff on like trailers and stuff like that. Works great. It's nice to have around versus trying to squeeze it out of your grease gun and then wiping it with your finger. And having a separate little bin of this with the brush is really handy. I use it all the time. This is kind of a twofold hack. Windshield washer containers. I use these all the time. Cut the tops off them. Use them to drain oil into like an oil pan. They hold about a gallon if you cut, you know, up top, and then you can, you know, form them. If you're in a tight spot, you can reach in there, and it's almost like its own funnel. I use these all the time, and they're you know, you recycle them basically. The second thing is these rags, and so I think I've mentioned this in another video too, but anytime you have a rag that you just like wipe your dirty fingers on, not necessarily grease or oil or anything like that, but just dirt. I think someone called me out on one of the other videos that I mentioned this, having oily rags around. It's not good, fire hazard. But for like dirty stuff, you know, just dirty hands or whatever, throw it in here, throw it off to the side, and then when you spill oil or you're changing your oil and it goes on the floor, or, you know, anything that you really need to just like soak up quick, or if you're draining carbs of gas or something like that, grab these, use them, you know, and then just throw them away. That way you're using them twice. And these rags aren't that expensive, but if you can use them twice, just saves you that much more headache. So I do that. I've been doing that for years. It's come in handy a lot. These carabiner clips, not necessarily this in itself, but the trick here is ratchet straps. So clip it on your ratchet strap when you're strapping down a mower or four-wheeler or something like that. When you're by yourself, you know, clip it in. You don't have to hold it. You go around to the other side, tighten it up, and vice versa. If you're trying to tighten something down, you know, and you got it, and you don't really have a spot to clip it to or hold it on to or whatever, you know, you can get the two ratchet points and then use that and clip that onto something to strap it down. So a couple tips with that. I use that all the time. When I figured that out, it was mind-blowing, life-changing. So if you have any tips or tricks or cool tools that you use for small engines or boats or whatever, lawnmowers, ATVs, let me know, because I enjoy making my life easier. So yeah, I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions or you want to see anything else, I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, thanks for watching.